Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tryxt here. I just wanted to bring you a quick build guide video in regards to the build that I've been playing throughout solo self-found hardcore for the Awakener race, and subsequently after the race as well. It's a Necromancer skeleton build that uses Holy Relic and cast when channeling to proc your offering. So the reason why I'm making this build guide video is because I've received the question quite often recently about, hey, I'm either new or I'm playing in a new league, what should I play? And personally, whether it's softcore or hardcore, this build is exceptional because it doesn't require really any gear whatsoever to get off the ground, and its single target's fantastic and has decent clear. So if you are playing in a brand new league, or if you are just starting out the game in the middle of the league, in my opinion, this is the build to play. I personally took the build all the way from league start to killing Awakener 8 in solo self-found hardcore. And in fact, I think 7 of the top 10 people who had played in Ziz's Awakener race had killed it with the same build or another variant of that build. So without further ado, let's get on into the build real quick. Again, this is going to be a fairly straightforward and scuffed guide. I'll maybe discuss the gearing and maybe some stuff in regards to how to get that gear in SSF, if that's your jam. So let's just hop in a map real quick and we can see how the build actually runs in a map scenario. Basically, what we're doing for this build is we're utilizing Summon Holy Relic on a 4-link to be able to do damage around us when we cyclone and hit targets. While in our boots, we're going to be using Fortify setup, which is due to having the Elder Boots, but it's going to have Cast when Channeling, Cyclone, Desecrate, and your Offering skill in order to be able to refresh your offering constantly, even when there's no mobs around or when you're fighting a boss. We're basically using the zombies just as a meat shield and also to apply Maim, and then we use Spectres to be able to cast a Curse with one of them and get Frenzy Charge with the other one. We'll go more in depth about that in just a few moments, but this is basically the build in action as far as its clear goes. I maybe have to stop for packs every so often, just to summon skeletons for a brief moment, and otherwise, this is a T16 map and everything dies, well, as you can tell, pretty quickly. It's no, like, extremely high-geared softcore type build, but for SSF hardcore, this is as good as you can really hope for. Like, this is good clear and good single target, and it's really just super safe. As you can tell, I never really take much damage, and even if I do, my Spirit Offering replaces my energy shield consistently, so it seems like I'm not even taking any damage whatsoever. Okay, so let's go over the details of this build real quick. Again, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing Necromancer for it. So in Normal Lab, we're going to go for Mindless Aggression. Cruel Lab, we want Unnatural Strength. Merciless Lab, we want Mistress of Sacrifice, and Uber Lab, we're going to go for Bone Barrier. You can swap these two around if you want to get Mistress in Uber Lab and Bone Barrier in Merciless Lab. I just don't really recommend it. Mistress of Sacrifice will make you a lot faster, and the offering going towards you is extremely beneficial to keep you alive as well. So yeah, I just don't think it's worth it, but if you want, go for it. Otherwise, we are taking obviously minion damage nodes on the tree. We don't get a ton of them though. We don't venture off into the right hand side because mainly we're looking for a lot of max life and a lot of resists and mitigation. But we're taking these two. We're taking this little cluster. We take this area here along with Spiritual Command. We grab these ones over here. Grave Pact being like one of the best. But that's it. That's all the mini nodes we're going to be taking. The rest is going to be going into max life, max life, max life. So much max life. You can get these Fortify effect nodes, by the way. Really depends on if you want to go up and get the spell damage or spell block nodes here and the life nodes here, or if you just want to go for these fortify nodes there. So it's up to you, whichever one you find finds more effective for you. These are good nodes though overall, but we're definitely getting Soul of Steel just because that way we get +1 to all max res, and Unwavering Stance is really nice for when you're not cycloning. You can't be stunned as well. And since we really have no evasion, we don't really have to worry about that too much. Anyways, onto the gear. So let's start with your 6-link. Your 6-link setup is going to be your skeletons. You're going to use Summon Skeletons, Melee Physical, Multi-Strike, Feeding Frenzy, Minion Damage, and when you're clearing, you're going to be using Melee Splash. When you're doing single target, you're going to be using Fortify on your skeletons. Reason why we use Feeding Frenzy, by the way, is first off, obviously to give the buff to all of our other minions, but with Feeding Frenzy attached to your skeletons, the skeletons get a small little dash ability. It just makes them much quicker when jumping from target to target. A really big quality of life difference, and it's so worth it. So do that. In our helmet, since we're using a +3 helmet, Again, we'll go into the details of the gear in a moment, but we'll go to the links first. Since we're using a +3 helmet, we're going to be using Summon Holy Relic in that helmet. Minion damage, meat shield, and control destruction. Meat shields just to keep it closer to you, and also closer enemies take more damage. So it's a damaging link, plus it's also quality of life, since the Holy Relic will be closer to you, and thus AoEing around you when you're cycloning the mobs down and you're just not stuck in the middle of them by yourself. The other main big link, this is probably the most important one. This is kind of you need this piece later on if you're going to be going into high tier maps. You need a pair of Elder Fortify boots. And the links being in that one, Cyclone, cast when channeling, your offering skill, which whether you choose to use Flesh Offering to start off and switch into Spirit Offering. In high tier maps, I recommend Spirit Offering, but low tier maps, Flesh Offering is perfectly fine. It'll make you a lot quicker. It'll improve your clear. But Spirit Offering is just going to make you and your minions extremely tanky. And then Desecrate. The reason why we need these boots is because these Elder Boots give Fortify, so it's a pseudo 5 link. And with Desecrate in there, instead of having to place Fortify in there, we're constantly making corpses and popping the corpses with Cast when channeling for our offering skill. And that is continually refreshing your energy shield over and over and over again, especially during boss fights. But it helps also during clear as well. So you're not, just killing a pack, desecrating, or killing a pack and using Spirit Offering on that pack. You're constantly making more corpses for that to happen. So this is kind of necessary. And I'll go over the crafting for that in just a moment as well. As far as my gloves go, we're doing Maim along with Raise Zombie and Fortify so that your zombies have Fortify. But I also use my Shield Charge in this link as well, just because I use both Shield Charge and Flame Dash, because it just makes you clear a lot quicker. But also this way, if I don't have Fortify up from, my cast or my Cyclone hitting anything, say if I wasn't near a pack for a little bit, if I Shield Charge into the pack, I'll be lucky enough to get Fortify again, right? In my weapon, I'm using Blood Magic and Raise Spectre, and then Flame Dash is just in there subsequently because I didn't have enough. It's not that I need Flame Dash with Blood Magic, it's just that that's where it ended up. But really important using Blood Magic with Spectres is because your Spectres actually have a mana pool for themselves, and they run out of mana. If you're using Blood Magic along with your Spectres, the Spectres then have Blood Magic, which means they use their HP instead of mana and therefore won't run out. So that's really important for your Spectres. And for the Spectres that we're going to be using, personally, I'm using a Carnage Chieftain, which you find from Act 7 in the Ashen Fields. So this place right down here. And then we're also using a Diabolist, which is found in Act 1 Upper Prison. So you just go into the prison, go over to Upper Prison and find that. Diabolists will cast Curse for you. It'll cast Enfeeble. So you don't have to have a curse on hit setup or anything, which is impossible for this build because we don't have enough links. And the Carnage Chieftains will cast Group Frenzy Charge. So usually you would have 3 Spectres, and I personally would recommend having 2 Carnage Chieftains, so you always do have Frenzy Charges, and 1 Diabolist if you're playing in Hardcore. However, if you're playing in Softcore, instead of having the Diabolist, you can get away with having a Host Chieftain, which is found in Ashen Fields as well. Host Chieftains will cast Power Charge, so you'll have Power and Frenzy Charges that way. But if you're playing in Hardcore, the Diabolist is invaluable. The reason why we'd usually have 3 is because, as I mentioned earlier, Death Attunement, but unfortunately I didn't get Death Attunement because I thought it was not worth the points, and I didn't anoint it because I only had 1 Silver Oil, and I wasn't going to waste that on an amulet that I didn't think was very good. So the shield, we are using Anne's Heritage, probably the best in slot. We aren't using we aren't using Endurance Charges, so you are going to have +3 to all maximum resists at all times. So with Soul of Steel and with the +1 that you get from the Life Node near Marauder, we have 80 Fire Res, 79 Cold, and 79 Lightning Res. Along with these all being armor pieces, we are extremely tanky. The armor base is extremely important also, I should mention, because when we use our Granite Flask, we go up to 14,000 armor. That's going to give our Val Molten Shell approximately 9,800 damage absorption, which is absolutely freaking broken. It's going to get nerfed at some point. I'm surprised it hasn't already. And that also stacks with Bone Armor as well. So with Bone Armor up and Val Molten Shell, we have like 12,000 incoming damage mitigation. Dots will still kill you, but yeah, it's really hard to get through, 8,700 life, 2,500 energy shield, plus another 12,000 mitigation. Like, build is stupidly tanky. But we're using Anne's Heritage for that reason. This is even a really low armor roll, so it's the lowest armor roll you can possibly get. If you had the higher armor roll, and you'd be mitigating from a single hit, you'd have about effectively 25,000 hit points, which is nuts. As for the jewelry, we're using fairly generic jewelry. This is where I'm getting my chaos res from. Like things like that, I can do the crafted chaos and whatever else resist. That one, I just wanted an unset ring so I could put my convocation in there. So yeah, we did that. Oh, sorry. Forgot the links in here. Obviously, Molten Shell, as I mentioned before, Skitterbots, and Pride. So Pride, in my opinion, is one of the best auras. 50% reservation, but it gets you like up to 40% more physical damage, especially on bosses, because they'll be in the aura the whole time. Skitterbots, on the other hand, are extremely good defensively and offensively. They shock and chill, and they do this to bosses as well. But the chill just really helps when you're clearing, and the shock just, well, chill helps defensively when you're clearing, shock helps offensively when you're clearing. It's a 35% reservation. It's stupidly good. But yeah, and then belt, generic as well, just a good rolled Stygian Vice. And then amulet, I would highly, highly recommend, again, that you use a Jinx Juju. I just didn't get one in SSF, but they're fairly cheap in Trade League. Otherwise, they're not that uncommon, so you're likely going to find one in a solo self-found league. So there's that. So as far as the helmet craft goes, I crafted this helmet using a bound fossil and a pristine fossil. It's eye level 86, and the way to get an eye level 86 base, which you require eye level 86 or higher to be able to get the +3 to minions. You can get +2 in the interim. Perfectly fine to do that. But to be able to get this, you have to, in solo self-found, either get to Shaper's Realm, which drops eye level 86 bases from the bosses, Obus Cursed Trove at tier 14. The last 2 floors will drop eye level 86 plus bases, or you can, in a tier 14 plus map, have strong boxes rolled with plus to chest level. And the items that the chest drops, not the items or the mobs that are summoned from the chest, like the items that are dropped by the mobs aren't going to be eye level 86, but the ones that are dropped from the chest itself, with enough plus to chest level, you can get eye level 86 and above. So those are your ways of getting eye level 86 base. Otherwise, if you are in a trade league, or if you're lucky enough to get the prophecy for Joffrey's Legacy, which is a faded version of Joffrey's Crest, it is awesome. It allows you to have 2 Holy Relics, and it also reduces the internal cooldown of your Holy Relic, which what Holy Relic does is it does a AoE around itself whenever you hit a target, but it has an internal cooldown, and it reduces that internal cooldown, which just makes it proc so many more times, and with 2 of them. So if you can get Joffrey's Legacy, that's almost your best in slot. I'm sure there's a better Elder Bone Helmet that's eye level 86 that you can roll, but in the meantime, that helmet will get you very, very far. I just didn't get lucky enough to get it in SSF, even though I was rotating prophecies all day for about a month straight, but that's just how it goes. As far as the chest piece goes, what I usually do is I get Dapper Prodigy cards found in Residence. That's a tier 10 map located in, unfortunately, I don't have my Atlas since I'm in solo self-found right now, but located in this little region right over here. So say if this is the middle, this region over here. It's the same one that has Underground Sea, but it only shows up at tier 10 and above. So I think you have to have at least 2 Watchstones in the area. But unfortunately, Residence shares multiple tier 10s, so it's kind of hard to target farm it. But you only need 6 Dapper Prodigy cards, so I use my Divination cards, Scarabs and things like that, to be able to get myself some Dapper Prodigies. I ripped one, but this one came from an incubator, so I think it was in T11 and above. If you get Legion encounters, you get incubators that gives you Geomancers, which is a 6-link chest. So I got lucky enough to get this one eventually, but Dapper Prodigy with 6 of them gives you a 6-link chest piece that's eye level 100. So if you're an SSF, Dapper Prodigies will help you get that. Trade League, just buy a 6-link, and the way I crafted this was I transmute, alt, aug, and then regal. So I'm looking for high life. I'm looking for a decent rolled resist, which I end up getting the walrus resist there, the cold res. And then you're looking to regal another resist. Reason why is because what you want to do with this chess piece is multi-mod it, which is a suffix, and then craft 2 prefixes on it. Those prefixes being +1 to skeletons and zombies. And then the other one is the Gravicious enchant, which in Soul Self-Found Hardcore, or Soul Self-Found in general, you need to get Gravicious in your syndicate. And personally, what I did was, before I engage him to have him drop his items, I used Calandra's Craft, which is a prophecy that gives you 4 of the same item, basically. So 1 item and 3 mirrored. And if he drops a chess piece, you can go give those into Jun, and you'll be able to already get the max rank. Like, just because it drops 4 of the same one, therefore it's going to have the same thing to unlock. So I got lucky enough to finally get that piece, but you have to get Gravicious into your syndicate because he doesn't innately start in the syndicate, so you're going to have to remove somebody to get him in. But that craft is extremely important, because the more energy shield that you have, the more you're going to be refreshing from your spirit offering proccing, right? So you need prefix, aug, regal suffix, and then multi-mod, which multi-mod you get from the Pale Council, so you have to get a lot of prophecies. As far as the most important thing, obviously these Elder Boots by far, right? So we talked about that earlier. Once you get into high tier maps, you're going to want a pair of these boots. Obviously before that, what you can just do is, instead of having Desecrate, just have Fortify in there, and instead of using Spirit Offering, use Flesh Offering, and that'll at least take you up to red maps, right? This build is very, very tanky. You might not need Spirit Offering before that point. Otherwise, that's basically it for the gearing portion. What I did when leveling was I actually leveled as Summon Raging Spirits, and I just took a generic tree for the most part. Like, I went, through the same way that I built this character. Like, I went up here, got these nodes, went over here, got these nodes, went around, got these nodes. So I went for the minion nodes first. Just be aware that without any quality on Summon Raging Spirits, they're really slow. So they have to chase mobs down, which isn't great, which is why I use minion speed in there. So what I did personally was, when I leveled, I used Summon Raging Spirits. You'll have to look up a Summon Raging Spirits guide if you really want too many, a bunch of tips on the leveling process, but it's a fairly straightforward build. And then I use skeletons as far as assistance on single target. So like Summon Raging Spirits with melee splash, melee damage, minion speed, and then once I could get Unleash, I got Unleash, and then I had a 4-link setup for my skeletons as well, so that whenever I was bossing, I would just use the skeletons to do supplementary damage. On bosses, obviously, take out melee splash. You don't want melee splash on there. So I should mention that I switched into this build actually once I got to the point where I had a good claw and I did have resolute techniques. I checked just a moment ago, and without RT, I'm at 58% chance to hit. So yeah, you definitely need to get resolute techniques before you can switch into this build. At least the final form of it. But otherwise, that's a fairly straightforward scuffed build guide. One thing I should mention, this is kind of generic for almost every build. If you are using a mana flask, I switched this out because I was fighting Cirrus. Unfortunately, I ripped on Cirrus. There's a bug that if you have a bunch of minions and he summons a spinny beam that does corrupting blood, I think it's a sound effect, because when I turned off the sounds, it was much better. But when the sound effect hits all your zombies at once, I guess it creates like an audio backlog or some kind of crap, and caused my frame rate to drop to 0, and I died subsequently on Cirrus. But that's why I was using that flask. But what you want is an enduring mana flask of warding. Reason being is because, so with quality, that's going to last over 6 seconds. It has 5 charges worth. That means you have 40 seconds approximately worth, 30 seconds on a boss where you will be immune to curses. And so if you're running any map that has elemental weakness, vulnerability, temporal chains, you can use that flask, spam it forever, and it'll stay up throughout the whole entire map. What happens is with Enduring is that it doesn't remove the flask effect at full mana, whereas when you do get to full mana on any other flask or full life on any other flask, that effect gets removed. That doesn't persist once you hit full. With that Enduring prefix, it does stay. So it stays the whole duration. So really important. Otherwise, just be sure that when you're using Val Molten Shell, hit your Granite Flask first, right? And then push your Val Molten Shell, because otherwise what will happen is it'll snapshot with the amount of armor that you currently have. So obviously using a Granite Flask is really beneficial. But yeah, that's about it. That's a fairly scuffed, straightforward guide. I know I talked extremely quickly there, but you can always slow down the video if you need to. But this is at least allows it to be out there so somebody can utilize it. But I hope that helped. If you guys have any questions, feel free to pop by the stream. I stream every day. So you can get to find that at www.twitch.tv/Tryxt, spelled Tryxt. Otherwise, if you subscribe to the YouTube, I'm going to be starting to make more videos. Not just build guide videos, but other ones in regards to just tips and tricks. There was no pun intended on that, I swear. But it does really help out small streamers like myself. So yeah, any feedback also obviously is great. Let me know if there's anything I can improve on. But this is my first build guide video, so they'll get better without yelling at me. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, we'll see you out there in Ray class.